I'm going to do some NFL playoff picks. Let's go, guys. I understand last time I did this, I did it with my dad. Unfortunately, couldn't really work it out since I'm obviously in the dorm. Him recording the video at home and then sending it to me and editing it together, it just seemed like it would be too big of a hassle for him and me. On my part, I have a lot of schoolwork to do. I feel like this video is a lot easier for me if I just record it instead of having to edit in my dad. But let's start off with it. The NFC. Top 7 seeds, and I'll discuss teams that I think could be close, but I didn't quite put in there. The number 1 seed I'm really having a tough time doing because I feel like there are 4 new champions this year. I understand that's kind of something crazy to say, but I'll explain it later on. And I'm going to go with the number 1 seed actually being the San Francisco 49ers. I know that's kind of a crazy thing to say, but I'd like to point out 2 facts that I have stuck with for most of my playoff predictions from now on. A second-year quarterback almost always makes the playoffs. Now, there's a couple years of exceptions. For instance, Kyler Murray's rookie class, no second-year quarterback made the playoffs. But to be fair, in his entire rookie class, there were only 2 starting quarterbacks, and it was him and Daniel Jones. It was really going to be always a rough one to try and find a second-year quarterback to make the playoffs. And the fact is, if you look at the other teams for the other than the San Francisco 49ers, you got the Jacksonville Jaguars. I don't believe they're a playoff team. The New York Jets, who's not going to have Zach Wilson for the first 4 weeks. I don't believe that's a playoff team. Mac Jones and the Patriots is a possibility, but I don't think I'm going to pick him for the I'm not picking him for the playoffs. And then you also look at who am I forgetting? There are 5 quarterbacks taken in the first round. Justin Fields for Chicago. I obviously don't think Chicago's a playoff team this year, as well as obviously Davis Mills for the Texans is also a second-year quarterback in the second year. I don't think the Texans are a playoff team, which really left me one option with the San Francisco 49ers. On the other hand, why am I not picking the Rams to win the NFC? It has been a rule for a while. Whoever wins the NFC rarely wins their division the next year. I understand that last year was the exception with Tampa. I don't feel like that changes the rule. Basically, I almost never pick a team that has won the NFC to win the division the next year. It rarely happens. Tampa and Tom Brady are an exception, but that doesn't change the general rules. So San Francisco 49ers are going to be the 1 seed in the NFC. 2 seed, I'm going to go with the Minnesota Vikings. I know. Crazy thing here. I'm not picking the Pack to win. I'm not picking the Pack to win that division. I understand this is kind of a stretch here because Vikes didn't even make the playoffs last year. But you got a brand new coach who actually doesn't hate Kirk Cousins' guts, so I feel like that could be a huge addition. You have a great receiving core for this football team. You have a great run game. And if the defense can be just half as good, just double as good as they were last year, if they can just be half as good at the offense, I feel like this is a very, very good football team. And I think it's going to be a tough team to beat at the beginning of the season, but especially as the season goes on. I feel like this is going to be the second best team in the NFC. I think the Vikes are a really elite unit, and to be fair, I doubt the Packers' ability on offense, losing Devontae Adams and Marcus Valdes-Scantling. They still technically have Alan Lazard and Randall Cobb and Sammy Watkins, but the fact is Sammy Watkins and Randall Cobb will get hurt. I can almost guarantee it. And as soon as that happens, they really have no receiving core. They'd have to rely exclusively on Aaron Jones to carry that offense. The fact is, I still think that's a playoff team there. I don't think it's a number 2 overall seed there. I think the Vikes are. They're going to the number 3 seed. I'm going to go with the New Orleans Saints. I understand, you guys, some people out there have doubted the Saints. And I understand the doubts. But you just look at that from a purely good perspective. The Saints, since Tom Brady has gone there, have went, 4-0 now? 4-0 against Tom Brady in the regular season. Obviously, there was playoff loss, but it doesn't matter. 4-0 in the regular season. The playoff loss is a different thing, obviously, but it was the playoffs. Playoffs Tom Brady's different than regular season Brady, obviously. The Saints actually have gotten, I think, significantly better this offseason. If they can stay healthy, the trio of Michael Thomas, Jarvis Landry, and Chris Olave could be elite. Not to mention you have Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram in the backfield. And Jameis. Jameis is the big question mark, in my opinion. A lot of people question Jameis. I don't. I saw the 5-2 start we had last year. He looked phenomenal. He looked like the starting quarterback for a long time. And every single time I've watched Jameis Winston, it looks like Sean has fixed him. Now, to be fair, Sean's not there anymore. So who knows how it's going to go down the line. Could go poorly. But I think Jameis Winston is honestly the future of New Orleans. And I would not be surprised if he leads them to a number 3 overall seed this year. Not to mention that defense. The defense is just insanely talented. Losing Chauncey is going to be a big deal for the Saints, like it or not. That he was a huge part of that defense, especially with the question mark of whether Marcus May is going to be able to play. But the fact is, there's enough talent in the secondary to step up. P.J. Williams is a fine safety, and he'll work as a nickelback. Now I'm going to go 4 seed in the NFC. I'm going to go with the Washington Commanders. The Washington Redskins. I'll explain why. For instance, the Cowboys are not going to win the division. Sorry, Cowboys. It's just not going to happen. Last time there has been, a team has won back-to-back NFC East championships, it was 2004. I was 1. And Andy Reid was still the head coach of the Eagles. It's been a hot second since that has happened, and I don't believe there are 3 trends that I always follow. The NFC team that goes to the Super Bowl for the NFC rarely wins the division the next year. There's always a second-year quarterback that makes the playoffs, and the NFC East never has repeat champions. So the Cowboys were off right off the bat. A lot of people are hyping up the Eagles to win that division. It's just the fact is, I don't have a lot of faith in Jalen Hurts as quarterback. I know what you're thinking, but Redskins quarterback's Carson Wentz. You have faith in him? No, but I do know that defense is good, and I know that Ron Rivera is a great head coach, and I know that Terry McLaurin's he's a once in a lifetime threat at wide receiver. And I know what you're thinking. Jalen Hurts has A.J. Brown. It's just I have less faith in it. I think that Carson Wentz can be great. I think he has all the ability to be phenomenal. By the way, just a pet peeve I have. It's kind of crazy. And it's just like a small thing to be really annoyed about. But when Carson Wentz and the Colts played the Titans, Carson Wentz threw a bad interception where he was standing in the end zone. He chucked it up, and the Titans guy just grabbed it right in for a touchdown, right? Just viewing it without context, that's bad. He was about to get sacked for a safety. If you do not know, that's the end of the game. The Colts lose if that happens. He has to get the ball out. So just throwing it up in the air, even if it's a pick six is better than if the guy intercepts and just goes down. Because that actually gives the Colts a chance offensively to come back and drive down the field, which is what they did, and then they tied the game and sent it over. Then they ended up losing in overtime. But that was only achievable by throwing the goddamn interception. If people have a little bit of football IQ, which I understand, seeing an interception is not good. Generically, that's a bad thing to see. But the fact is, in that scenario, I don't know what else you want Carson Wentz to do. It's just such an annoying play, in my opinion, because literally every small football channel, or not every small, every football clips channel, when they show an example of Carson Wentz being bad, they use that one, and it makes me so angry, because I remember watching that game, and the announcers were talking about, I'm thinking, he had no other choice. What else do you want him to do? Take the safety, the game ends. The game ends, and they have no chance of winning. He has to do that. So I understand it. I went on a full tangent. That thing angers me. I'll link to the play below in the description if you want to go see that play, because it is so annoying to me that people talk about it all the time. It's literally the only smart thing to do in that situation is what Carson Wentz did. I understand Carson Wentz is far from perfect. He's made a lot of mistakes in his career. But the fact is, the example that you're using is the one time he made the correct decision to throw that interception. Anyways, I think the the Redskins are the team to come out of the NFC East. The number 5 seed is obviously going to be the Rams. I understand that. I don't think they're a team this year that's going to be a division champ, but I think that the NFC West is going to be one of the best divisions in all football, and I think just the Niners eke them out a little bit. And just, like last year, if the Cards and the Rams were in different divisions, then the Cards would have been a top 4 seed as well, but they weren't, and it was just boom, right off the bat, you couldn't do it because the Cards and the Rams were playing in the same division, and despite being one of the better teams, they were the 5 seed, right? And it was the same with the Bucs when the Saints and the Bucs both played in the playoffs a couple of years ago. And the Bucs were the 5th best team in the number 5 seed in the playoffs, but they would have been a top 3 seed if they had just been in a different division. But the Rams are still a Super Bowl contending football team. They still have Matthew Stafford. They still have all these weapons. I just think that the Niners eke them out by a little bit. The 6th seed, I'm going to go with the Pack, right? I understand the Pack is... Aaron Rodgers is still there. The Pack is going to make the playoffs regardless. I just don't think they're a division-winning team this year, especially with the Vikes getting so much better this offseason, but the addition of Za'Darius Smith. 7th seed has been puzzling me for a while. I honestly have been debating going between the Cards and the Bucs for this one for the longest time. And I'm going to have to go with the Bucs simply because they play in a weaker division. I understand. I think I like the Cards. I like the Cards a lot to make the playoffs, but the fact is, you just look at the numbers. There's 8 good teams in the NFC, and I just believe that the Cards are the 8th. I don't think they have a chance to make the playoffs, simply because the Bucs play in a weaker division. For instance, they get to play the Panthers and the Falcons both twice a year. I understand that they play the Saints twice. They'll probably lose those two, but you look at the Cards, they're going to have to play the Niners twice, and they're going to have to play the Rams twice. That's possibly 4 losses right there. I understand they're being gifted 2 by the Seahawks, but I just think, personally, I think the Bucs are going to lose. I think that they're going to end up making this playoffs as the 7th seed. So, if you were wondering what would the playoff matchups be, we'd end up seeing Tampa Bay traveling up to Minnesota to play the Vikings in the wild card weekend round. We'd see the Pack traveling to New Orleans to play the Saints in the Superdome, and then we'd end up seeing the Rams traveling to Washington to play the Redskins in FedEx Field. I think it's still FedEx Field. But now to go to the AFC side of things, the 1 seed's going to be the Bills. I don't have a lot of questions about that. I like the Chiefs overall as a team that could possibly win a Super Bowl. But the fact is the Chiefs are going to have to play the Chargers twice a year, the Raiders twice a year, and the Broncos twice a year. And those are 6 games that are very losable football games, and you're going to have to fight teeth and nail in that division. And it just seems like that's going to be a lot harder division to win than the nice little AFC East, where you get the Jets and the Pats that probably won't be that great this year, and you get the Dolphins. Dolphins have a possibility of being good, but that's the only team that's really going to be there to compete for your division. I feel like the Bills are set up very nicely to win their division by a lot this year and get the 1 seed. Plus, Bills are just great. I don't think I have to explain that at all. The offense is obviously going to be phenomenal. Josh Allen at quarterback and Stephon Diggs at wide receiver. That's always going to be the case. Defense has arguably gotten better. So there's a lot of things to like about Buffalo to come out of the AFC East as the 1 seed. 2 seed, I was having a tough time deciphering this. I'm going to go with the Baltimore Ravens. And it's just because I think the Ravens are going to win the AFC North. I understand Bengals fans out there are pretty angry, but I think the Ravens last year were a team that looked really good at the beginning of the year, and they fought through a lot of adversity, and just in the end it wasn't enough after they lost Lamar Jackson. And that's the thing. After they lose Lamar Jackson, they just weren't that great of a football team. But the Ravens are a football team that definitely can compete with Lamar Jackson on the field for a 1 seed. The reason I didn't go with them as the 1 seed is I think it actually could be a tough division this year. I think the Bengals are obviously a really great football team, and I think that the Steelers are a little bit underrated to come in there, at least mix things up a little bit in the AFC North. I think the Browns are going to straight up suck for a lot of the season until they get Deshaun Watson back, and even then, I don't really know how much he's going to be able to do with that offense, considering that he hasn't really done much playing football. But I like the Ravens. I like the Ravens a lot this year to win the division in the AFC North and get the 2 seed. 3 seed, I'm going to go with the Chiefs. Since Patrick Mahomes has been there, he hasn't lost the division. Fact is, he hasn't lost a season opener. Patrick Mahomes is insanely talented. He's literally the best player in all of football right now. Maybe there's an argument to be about Aaron Donald, but Patrick Mahomes is elite. He has a rocket of an arm, and last year he got a big lesson in taking checkdowns, which is going to be rough. He finally learned to take the checkdown. He lost Tyreek Hill. I think that's going to be a major loss, and the rest of the division got way better. So I think this is going to be a rough season for Patrick Mahomes, but I still think they win the AFC West, and I still think they get the 3 seed. Four seed, I was having a tough time debating. I was debating between the Titans and the Colts, and I do think this is going to come down to the last weekend. I think whoever wins makes the playoffs, whoever loses doesn't. I think the Colts-Titans is going to be a close battle to the very end, but I'm going to go with Colts here. I like the addition of Matt Ryan. I really do. The Colts were close to the playoffs last year, and Carson Wentz did not play very well at all. Matt Ryan didn't look great last year, but he also didn't look bad considering the offense that he had around him. It just overall wasn't a good place to be. He gets to go to Indianapolis where he has a good offensive line. Obviously, the run game with Jonathan Taylor is spectacular. And the receiving core is, I'd like to say it's better than Atlanta, but I think it's on very much the same par level as Atlanta. You got some players there. It's going to be interesting to see what he can do with them. Maybe T.Y. Hilton steps up in a big way, but he hasn't been healthy for a long time. Colts defense is obviously elite, and I just think the Colts are going to be able to eke them out for a division championship, although they'll obviously lose in Jacksonville. 5 seed, I was having a tough time debating for this one, but I'm going to go obviously Bengals, right? The Bengals are the best team in the AFC that I didn't pick to win a division. They're coming off a Super Bowl appearance. Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and Joe Mixon are an elite trio, not to mention T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd, which are great in their own right. I think their offensive line got better, which it would have been hard to get worse, but I still think that's a weak unit on that team, and I think it could cost them a division championship. The defense is great. I don't have any real complaints about the defense other than Eli Apple starts on it, and that's a weak spot to be sure, and teams are going to take advantage of it, considering just how god-awful Eli Apple is. But I do think the Bengals are a playoff team, and I think they're a team that can make a lot of noise in the playoffs as a wild card. 6 seed was a spot I was debating for a while, and I'm going to go Chargers. I understand there's an argument to be made for Broncos, and there's an argument to be made for Raiders, but I'm going to go with Chargers as the other team out of the AFC West, and it was a tough debate for me, but I just think the Chargers were almost there this year, and I think they got significantly better, and I think they can learn from their mistakes last year. What Denver, I understand, got way better with the addition of Russell Wilson, but the fact is Denver was not good last year. They weren't a good football team. I understand they could be like the new Rams, but the fact is the Rams, they didn't play in a division with Patrick Mahomes. The best quarterback was Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray's not even maybe he's top 15. He's not top 10, though. So I think this is going to be a tough adjustment period for Russ and the Broncos. I'm going to go Chargers simply because we know that what that offense has the possibility of bringing with Justin Herbert, and we know it's explosive. The defense got better. With the addition of Khalil Mack and J.C. Jackson, that could be an elite combo, and that defense could be great next year. I understand they could charger it up. They very well could. But I just think the Chargers are the second best team in the AFC West right now. Maybe even the best team in the AFC West. It's just Patrick Mahomes is the X factor, obviously. I just have to go with the Chargers to make the playoffs and Justin Herbert get his first playoff appearance. And then going to other quarterbacks in the same division that I also picked to make the playoffs next year, I'm putting the 7 seed as Tua Tagovailoa and the Dolphins. I understand that I'm leaving the Broncos and the Raiders out of the playoffs and the Titans out of the playoffs. A lot of people view that as unacceptable. The fact is the AFC is so stacked with a lot of teams that I think are playoff caliber teams. I'm leaving out the Raiders, Broncos, Titans, and Steelers, and even Pats, and I think they're all playoff caliber teams in the NFC. The NFC literally has one other playoff caliber team in the cards that I didn't pick to make the playoffs. Literally every other team is not playoff caliber at all. I think the Dolphins has a possibility of being really good this year. Obviously, this too is make or break year. I don't see a lot of argument about that. I mean, if Tua can't succeed with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle as his receivers and Mike Gesicki at tight end, I don't know who he's going to succeed with. Dolphins look like a playoff team. I'll see what happens with the new coach because I did love Brian Flores in Miami. I thought he was a great defensive head coach. He literally had that defense playing like their hair's on fire. But a lot of people forget that Javon Holland, just if Michael Parsons wasn't the absolute beast he was likely defensive rookie of the year. That's a rookie a lot of people forget in their heads. But Javon Holland, he's a phenomenal second-year safety. Like, that guy is legit. He's one of the best players I've watched last year that was a rookie. He was great. Great safety play by him. I really like that defense. I'm a little bit worried about rushing the passer. I don't know how exactly that's going to work out. They did add, they added Trey Flowers from Detroit. Detroit dropped him, but if he's dropped by Detroit, I don't know what your chances are of that's going to... The pass rush is confusing to me. Emmanuel Ogbah has looked pretty good the past couple years. I'm hoping that he actually does something. But I do think Miami is going to be the number 7 seed, and I understand a lot of people, Broncos, Raiders. I'd like to point out, though, that the Broncos and the Raiders have to play the Chargers and the Chiefs and then each other in their division. The Dolphins get to play the Jets and the Patriots 4 times. That should be 4 easy wins for the Dolphins. I'm going to go with the Dolphins as a 7th seed. Let me know what you think of my playoff picks below in the comments section. I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. I hope you guys are going to enjoy the game tonight. I'm going to look forward to a first week at NFL football. I hope you guys excited, and remember to stay tuned for the college football videos that are going to be coming out in the next couple of days.